Everyone.
Okay, so I will call this meeting of the regular meeting of the Public Site and Building Commission to order at 7:02. And we will start, as usual, with our pledge. So if you'll join me, our flag's over here.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America.
Republic,
Which is one under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
All right, so. So I'm going to start with a review, as I was asked to do, of the, and this was sent out to everyone in advance, the FOI meeting policy that the town put together, and it's got to be part of the minutes. So Wayne over there, I have to read it into the minutes, which I was told. So all elected and appointed boards and commissions, FOI meeting policy. While a meeting is in session, the following protocols should be followed. Personal devices should not be used to communicate through any means, including text message, email, instant message, social media post, or conversation. An exception will be made if the device is being used as part of the meeting session, i.e. a member is participating in the meeting via phone conference. If there is a need to communicate regarding personal business during the meeting, the member should excuse himself or herself from the meeting and exit the meeting room or request the chair to move for a meeting recess. Any conversations by members or questions should be addressed to and through the chair. Talking, asking another member a question, or whispering in any comments to one another should not take place. At public meetings, the public generally expects that the business being conducted is public business. Pursuant to the Freedom of Information Act, Connecticut General Statutes 1-200, as amended, FOI Act, the public has a right to know that what public officials say at public meetings on topics related to the public's business, unless such statements are made during a proper executive session or otherwise exempt from disclosure under the FOI Act. Failure to adhere to the business of the meeting and/or aforementioned protocols could subject a public official to a FOI request requiring the disclosure of information that may be sensitive or inappropriate for public knowledge. In addition, a subsequent proceeding could be commenced with the FOI Commission, which may result in a significant expenditure of time and resources, a fine, board and commission actions being set aside, etc. Thank you, and please keep the above in mind at all times while you're participating in a board or commission meeting. Signed, Daniel E. Carter, First Selectman. And I'm just going to do a quick review. Our meetings, as all board and commission meetings in the town, are governed by the town charter, the town code, Robert's rules, and FOI. So all that together has to be adhered to while we're running meetings. And basically, you know, our town form of government, and usually most municipalities' form of government, has to do with transparency of government. So the public needs to be able to know everything and anything that's going on, whether it's during a meeting or it happened in the meeting. That's why we have to do minutes. Kathy does a great job with that. And now we even have all these recordings that people can refer to. So it makes it even easier for people to go and find information they need. That being said, if we're communicating during the meeting, communicating with people using and I have my laptop set up so I can refer back to documents if I need some that I don't have here. That's okay. Using a phone also to refer to old emails, documents, things like that, but communicating with each other. And there was an FOI complaint filed against a town commission or board a while back, not too long ago, within the past year. What that would do, FOI means you got to hand over all the information. So you could have your text messages or your emails or whatever subject to public disclosure, and you probably don't want that happening. So just keep that in mind as we're in meetings, and you shouldn't have any problems. Anybody have any questions on it?
Nope.
I think we should be good. Yeah. Okay, so next part of our agenda is public input. So if we have any public input, please let us know. I don't know if something just popped up there, Kathy. All right, so no public input and correspondence other than everything that was sent out ahead of time for, as part of the meeting documents. I don't have anything and nothing came in since I saw you earlier, so we're good. So we'll move on to approval of meeting minutes. And I will make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the regular meeting of February 22nd, 2023. And I need a second.
Second.
Got a couple of them, Dave Olson, Dave Horvath, both at the same time. So does anybody have anything about the minutes that needs to be amended, changed, etc.? I think we're good with that. Everybody's good? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Does anyone need to abstain? I think everybody was,
Yeah.
yeah, I think we're good. Yep. All right, thanks. And then next on the agenda, we have election of officers. However, we're still minus a member. So I think it's best to wait until we have a full commission to do the election of officers. Unless anybody has any other input with that, we will wait until that time. Good? Great, thanks. So moving into our old business, the municipal center renovations, specifically the GP room lobby renovation, which a few people looked at last time we were here. And we have on with us Mark Schweitzer from Colliers, who's been acting as our, Colliers been acting as the owner's rep. And I'll just start with, they had planned to be done by the end of this week, early next week. However, they had a little glitch, which Mark can tell us about, but I did notice they did say that they were pulling the dumpster out today. When I came in the front door, I noticed the dumpster's gone. So the dumpster, one of the dumpster deliveries was done a little kind of crazy, and that ripped up the lawn a little, but they're working on that tomorrow and Friday to get that all settled. And when they brought in the concrete for the stoop, there's a little dent in the lawn they're going to fix. So they're going to working on that in the next couple days, because there's plenty of time for seeding and having stuff. It's a good time of year because it's been warm to get that done. So they'll get that completed. And Mark Schweitzer, if you want to let us know all the other stuff that kind of got a little backed up in the past week.
Yes, Mark Schweitzer with Colliers. I guess the biggest thing that got held up was the partitions. The contractor that they had assigned to install the partitions got the flu last week when he was supposed to be out here. That put him back basically a week or so to install the templates or the partitions, I should say. And then from there, everything flows from that. After the partitions go in, they're going to template for the countertops. Once the countertops arrive, they can finish off putting in the sinks in the countertops, and with the partitions, the toilet accessories and the grab bars and all that go in. So they're basically been held up for a week with the partitions, but I guess since our last meeting, the flooring went in the lobby, the VCT went in, I should say, the sprinklers went in, or got tied back in, and the burglar alarm got tied back in. And when I was there on Monday, they were doing touch-up painting on the doors and all that. So basically, the partitions guy is supposed to be there tomorrow to install, and then they got the countertop guy, the template, right after the partitions are installed, and that should be about a week to fabricate the countertops and get them on site and install them.
Yeah, when I was in there today, Mike was doing some paint touch up and just kind of checking things and making sure they were good to go. And he did say that the partition guy is still scheduled to come tomorrow, put up the toilet partitions. And hopefully he can get that. It should be a quick, he's kind of a sort of a one-man show, but not, I mean, he's got people working for him, but it's not a big company, it's a small company. So then
and the other complicating factor was he's got to drill into the ceramic tile.
Yeah,
They,
yeah.
they did offer somebody that just started with the company, and
That's-
BNP decided not to go with them just because it's a one and done with the ceramic tile.
Right, which is good. I'm glad that they're having the head guy do it. And Mike said he thought that they had arranged now for the templating of the countertops to be done on Friday, so hopefully that can happen. Because that'll move that along too.
Correct.
Whatever the resolution on the glass.
So the glass on that door that you noticed when we were walking around, the door was actually delivered that way. So I got that from Jay, from BMP. So that glass is supposed to be coming in for the door sometime next week, and then the two sides were installed without the glass because that's the way they were delivered, and then the glass is gonna come, and they're gonna put all that glass back in. And the top, I think John Perna was one that brought up, why is it not the shatter kind of proof glass? So it's a different type of safety glass. It's not the kind with the wire in it, but it is a,
Pyrane.
yeah, let's say it again, Mark.
Pyrane.
So Jay sent me the cut sheet for it, and it's a safety glass. So it's not gonna be shards coming out, that
Okay.
kind of thing, not like the mirror. So that's coming in soon, and they'll fix that one door and do the two side lights. They also have the whole push button door thing set up, so there's a push button as soon as you come up the ramp around the corner, so that's great. It's all, the stoop is poured, so it's nice and smooth now, it's not bumpy anymore, makes it easier for a handicap access. And they had to figure out, because you have to kind of either lock the doors with the push buttons or have them on a timer, so they were figuring all that out too.
Correct.
So we're, like Jay said, he's near the finish line and he wants to run across it, but they're not quite there yet. So does anybody have any questions?
So we're ahead of schedule, we're still ahead of schedule.
Yes and no. I think he wanted to be done, like I said, mid-March, and so it depends on the toilet partitions are going in. It depends on, they'll template the countertops, but if they can get them made quickly and come back, then that brings the plumbing people back in to put the sinks in, and all of the grab bars, et cetera, have to wait for the partitions too. So, yeah, there's a few things that need to be done. So we're close, we're real close.
Great.
So if we don't have any questions or anything, we have a couple of invoices to deal with. And they're both for Colliers, one for the month of January and one for the month of February. They got a little backed up in that they got sent to finance first, and then finance had to reroute them to us. So we're gonna do those now, and we'll do this one first. So I'll make a motion that we approve the Colliers invoice number 00008168819 dated January 31st, 2023 for services rendered through the month of January in the amount of $1,597.50.
I'll second that.
Got seconds, any questions on it?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, done. And then second, Colliers, I make a motion that we approve Colliers invoice number 000824631 dated March 3rd, 2023 for services rendered through the end of February in the amount of $1,472.50.
Second.
We got a bunch of seconds. So if everybody seconds it, that means everybody's voting in favor. So all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we're done with that. So I think I have some news on being finished. That would be great. And if we don't have any other questions for Mark or me on this part, we'll be done with that. Good. Thank you, and thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
All right, so we are a little ahead of schedule. We're gonna move on to the school project. So I believe Joe Colada is supposed to be joining us, but he may be a little late.
Should we do the PD then?
No, because we've got some stuff we have to do first with
Okay.
that, so. So there's a couple things to let you know, and then we have a couple things we have to look at and figure out where we're going next. So as reported, a couple different meetings, last meeting, the meeting before, Terry Yansky and Geraldine have been working along with Dr. Carver and STV, other people on STV, to finish out all that paperwork that has to go to the state so that the final reimbursement thing can get along and processed. So in our favor, great that Geraldine was always so good at keeping records and spreadsheets, et cetera. So in looking through all of those, it was discovered that, and so you're gonna have to watch for Dr. Carver coming in, because she said she'd come in, and Joe Colada. It was discovered that the whole process that we went through like early, like about a year ago, with the additional payment to Rizzo that they had requested, which it was a negotiated thing between the town and Rizzo because of COVID delays, et cetera, et cetera. That amount was double billed to us and we paid it. So Rizzo has been overpaid by $175,000. And the way that happened was the settlement agreement was agreed to by the town, by the Board of Selectmen. And then the town paid Rizzo. And they did it by splitting the amount in half rather than a percentage for Rockwell, percentage for Johnson, because as through the whole project, we know that Johnson's been the larger project, expense-wise, time-wise, et cetera, Rockwell being a smaller amount. And then we realized, and with great kind of foresight by Geraldine, that we can't just kind of pay some money, and how do you report that to the state? So we had Rizzo do a change order, which created, there's that amount, but we had them split it between Rockwell and Johnson. So while the town wrote a check to Rizzo for $87,500 for both schools, the change order amounts were $60,000 for Rockwell and $115,000 for Johnson. So once those, and we did approve those change orders in, I can't remember, March, April, something like that. March. It was March, yeah. Thanks, Mark. So Rizzo then rolled those over into their another application for payment, and we paid it. And so anyways, where we are with this, and I get either input from Mark or Dr. Carver, Brad, on behalf of the town, and Dr. Carver on behalf of the town, we're going to contact Rizzo and say, hey, we're looking through all these accountings, Brad being the finance person looking at it and saying, wait, why is this double? So they owe us that much money. And I don't know, Dr. Carver, if you have any further update on that?
Sure. I did have an opportunity to talk to Brad, and Brad has reached out to the accounting office, and they said they were going to look into it and get back to him. Nancy, we had that conversation yesterday, correct, Mark?
It was Monday.
Monday. Okay. Yeah. So he called. Yes. He called the next day, so Tuesday, and he's waiting to hear back from him. And he was going to follow up tomorrow before I started to get involved. I think we're going to start with Brad, and then I was going to call as a follow-up. I think that's what we agreed to, right, Mark?
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So that has happened. Brad's reached out, so he's just waiting he told me, I talked to him on my way home tonight around 6:30, and he said that he would follow up tomorrow.
Yes, that meeting, I'm looking at my calendar, that meeting was Monday, so.
Yeah.
Yep, that was Monday.
So it was in that process of trying to get all that information together to get to the state, where this came up, because Geraldine was kind of pulling her hair out, and so was Terry, kind of like, why aren't the numbers matching? And now they do.
Yeah.
So there's a couple other things that came out of that exercise of getting the information together to send to the state. And one is kind of which we've known all along. There are certain things that are not subject to reimbursement for various and sundry reasons, because they never would be. There are certain fees and things that aren't going to be subject to reimbursement. However, there's also an amount, there are amounts not subject to reimbursement, since Rizzo did not do the proper paperwork in that 6-month timeframe and get that submitted so that there were things that could have been subject to reimbursement, but Rizzo didn't take care of that in a timely fashion, which mostly includes their entire construction contingency. And some of that stuff might not have been subject to reimbursement, however, some of it would have been. So we're gonna point that out to them when we say you owe us this money. And there was paperwork that Dr. Carver was gonna submit. Now, did you get that submitted, or are you still waiting to hear back from the Office
Yeah.
of Construction?
So I submitted, Geraldine followed up with me later after our meeting that day, and that same day I submitted to, the Office of School Construction wanted us to submit preliminary numbers before we applied for our final application of payment. So I sent that to Michelle Dixon on the same day Monday, we had the meeting that night. And I let Michelle Dixon, I put in my email that if she had any questions about it, to get back to me. Otherwise, we were going to file officially at the beginning of next week. So we're going to still file. I haven't heard back from her. I know she's incredibly busy because they had so many applicants for the HVAC grants. But I do know she's thorough, and she'll look through the paperwork and let me know if there's any problems. But my plan is with Terry and Geraldine to file sometime early next week for the final payments.
Good. So, and one of the calculations that Geraldine put together is that we are maintaining that 42+% reimbursement rate, which is good.
Yeah.
The cap, the most we could have received would have been 45%. They set that cap early on, and which was part of the whole grant process in the beginning. But having us be at 42 is 42.5% pretty much for the combination of both projects, I think is good. And
I concur, it is good.
And so this is the final payment. Payments have already been applied for and have made back to the town, but this final payment, it's a whole process, which I don't mean to get into the whole thing, but it's a paperwork, and then they might ask for more verification of certain figures, paperwork, et cetera. And then there's an audit, and that can happen anytime. We just have no way of predicting when the audit will happen, and then a payment. So
Yeah, the state holds back 11% until the audit's complete. So they've reimbursed us as much as they can to this point. And so once we get that finalized, like Nancy said, it triggers the audit. And then hopefully the town will get the final payment soon. It'll be much better than the high school project, which I think the final audit was 10 years later.
I think they're more efficient these days.
They are. They have a whole new system that's made them more efficient.
Yeah. So is there anything else on that whole closeout process that you want to bring up, either Dr. Carver or Mark Dupre?
No, not at the moment. I'm just happy that Geraldine was as thorough as she was with her paperwork and with her audit.
Right.
Because the way Rizzo put that into the applications for payment did not match any change order numbers. So it was very difficult for any of us to recognize that at the time. So it's an unfortunate thing that happened, but it was a challenge, and I'm happy she found it. I'm really happy we were able to keep her on that.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I think that it was harder even because of the amounts between the two schools were so supposed to be 60,000 and 115, and then the checks that were received were two different amounts. So
Right. And then in the change orders for the applications for payment, the numbers were even different there.
Right.
well, and I think we found that frequently with applications for payment, even though STV and Geraldine went over them, they often needed to correct figures. There was transposition of numbers, et cetera, but by the time we got them, they were usually correct. And it was basically the two of the final applications for payment where this ended up happening. And so we're gonna keep working on getting back the money that we're owed.
Sure.
So if anybody has questions on that part, we're gonna move into the last piece of the project that we have been working on. So outside of the GMP part of the project, we've been working on the plans for and remediation to the stormwater management area. And so last Monday night, I was on the inland wetland meeting. So I think I did report at the last meeting that before that, the Inland Wetland Commission did go for a walk behind Johnson School. They usually do site walks if there's something that they need to make an agreement on or even disagree. So they did go for a walk, asked a lot of questions, and then at the meeting on Monday night, they asked a few other questions, but the plans, and they asked for some more. David McCullum also asked to have some more information on the plan, so James got that from SLR. And so the Inland Wetland Commission approved us going ahead. Their formal approval will happen in 2 weeks, because they have a whole thing where they don't just make a motion, they actually have a resolution that they do. And so, James, I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, no, essentially, just so everybody knows, the Wetlands Commission did give us verbal approval. They're just waiting on the resolution. This way they can run the resolution through town council and everything else, so that their language is good. So that it's just the formality of the next meeting is pretty much where that's at.
And then, which gives us, having that verbal approval, we can continue to move forward with what we're going to do. And so James has reached out to a couple of different departments, Board of Ed and Parks and Rec, et cetera, to get some input about timing. And because that was actually not really their purview, but something that Inland Wetlands brought up about, when the work going to be done and how, because a lot of that whole area was done during construction, yet school was still in session. I pointed that out, that both projects were done while school was still, most of it was done while school was still in session. And we had to make sure that there were certain parameters put in place for when things could be delivered, when heavy equipment could move through the school grounds, et cetera. So James has some.
Kathy, can you enable screen sharing for me?
Yeah, you gotta make him co-host.
There we go. Okay, everyone can see this.
Yeah, right, just to make it a little bigger, or at least point out some things that you.
So I'm going to start with, these are kind of my notes from everybody that I talked to. And so essentially, I wanted to try to get some dates and major areas of concern for, Board of Ed, Park and Rec, and even the fire marshal, in terms of some of their, just concerns, so that this board knows. And it's up to you guys what you want to do with it in terms of when you want this project to actually move forward and be completed. But at least for nothing else, I was trying to, get you as much information as I can. So for the Board of Ed, if we're doing construction during the school year, so prior to June 14th, so that's when the last day of school is currently scheduled. We really don't want to have trucks hauling materials or equipment between 8 and 9:30 and 2:30 and 4:30. That's when pickup and drop off is going to be very popular in that area. One of the other things that they were just very adamant on, and which is a good thing, and we really should have this anyway, is a point of contact with the contractor, just so if there is an issue on school grounds we can get in touch with them very quickly and resolve any issues. Some dates for Parks and Rec and what their concerns are. Their summer programs will start June 26th. So if you'll notice, there is about a week or a little less than 2 weeks of time between the school ends and the programs start. So ideally, if we want to do this when nobody's around, we try to schedule right after school ends. And then even if it bleeds into the summer programs, that really shouldn't be too big of a deal. They did want to point out that they have one pretty sizable event on July 15th. Ideally, we should be out of there by then, but that's just a key event. Made some recommendations on where they would prefer us to put up some signs to direct pedestrians and or the public who are using the disc golf course. Basically, probably use something like an orange snow fence, construction fence at disc golf hole 3, which is down. I'll show it in a second, down kind of where we're doing the disturbance by the brook. And then on the other end of the Enchanted Trail, we would put up, again, same thing, a sign and an orange construction fence. We may want to just throw up some detour signs to help direct them. Again, I'll show you in a second with the diagram. And what they also recommended is that, I'll put together some form of a diagram for the public that they can post on their social media to just aware the public of where they have to walk, where they're going to be detoured to. And that's not a problem. The fire marshal's concerned, just so everyone's aware, we want to try to limit the stockpile areas to half of the access road. This way, if there is an emergency, they can either get around it. However, after I went into a little bit more detail with him on where the construction is happening, he did seem far less concerned. But so we can try to, if we can keep their staging up to one side, then that's ideal. One of the other things, so this is the school. As you can see right here, this is where the gate currently is to block. So we already have a way to block people from entering the site. If we, I don't know why my PDF is doing that, but if we deemed it necessary, we could always add a movable or temporary chain link fence off the corner of the building and bring it to the existing fence for the detention basin. We'll also need to put one on this end. This is about 60 linear feet, so we can come off the corner of the building and go to the existing chain link fence. Again, if it's during school, that'll keep the kids during recess, unable to access this area, and things like that. And it'll also keep the public out. Essentially, this is the gate where they'll be coming in and out. We'll kind of just have some staging area kind of along the sides, in terms of putting the pipe there, the stone, whatever they need. And the fire marshal is pretty good with that. So he's not overly concerned. This, I tried to do as big of an aerial as I could. So this is the school here. This is that same playground. The disc golf course comes down and around. So the tee is somewhere over here, or the hole, I guess, or basket, whatever it's called, is over here. Our work is being done kind of in this area. So we'll have the orange construction fence and a little sign that just tells them, okay, you're gonna have to come around. We can drop a few detour signs along this path. And then this is the other end. This is roughly where the other entrance is. I'll have that actually dialed in a little bit better. But again, orange fence and a sign saying that the trail is going to be closed, and or this section of the trail is closed and you got a detour around. So that's what everybody's concerns were. And then I will also give you one other thing. I did also start to reach out to some contractors. If this board has any other ones that they would like me to reach out to, please let me know. But so far I've reached out to Earth Movers, Sunburst, and Nagy. We're the three. If anybody has any other any other ones, just let me know and I'm more than happy to send them everything.
So I'm wondering, James, if we're looking at maybe about a week's worth of timeframe, could we possibly do it during April break, or would that be kind of cutting it too close and
So I think, so one of the things that I'm requesting from the contractors is their availability and how long they think that the project's going to take them.
okay,
So depending upon the contractor, some of them are, obviously going to be more gung ho. Some are more capable than others. Some, so I'm kind of leaving it up to them to tell me how long. And then we can ultimately make our decision on when.
okay,
So at this point, I'm just in the data collection phase for this board and trying to get them as much information as I possibly can in terms of, public events and or how long these contractors are actually going to take to do this work. Because I mean, realistically, if everything's lined up, they have all the materials, I could see them doing most of it in 2 weeks. Obviously everything's weather dependent and everything else, but like a good contractor may be able to get it done in a week. But, a not so good one, maybe 3 weeks, so it really all depends on them. And I'm going to try to get their costs and timeframes so that this board can make a good decision.
Anticipate hearing back from the contractors.
that's good.
Oh, what was that?
When do you anticipate hearing back?
I did get some additional questions yesterday. So I'm hoping soon. I'm going to follow up tomorrow. If I don't hear anything, just touch base with them and say, hey, have you looked at this? Have you read it? So hopefully for the next meeting, I'll hopefully have more answers.
Okay. So now, if we're looking at, it'd be great to get it done in April during vacation, but that's only a week. And so, and I think it looked, what I looked at my calendar, that when school ends and when summer school starts is more like a week and a half, or, good 12, 13 days of, even if they work on Saturdays. So that might be the better time. Kind of hate to wait, but I think it might be best. And so then we have to figure out too, how do we, go about dealing with that? Joe Collada's here from Perkins Eastman if people have questions on plans and things like that. But if we're not gonna go any further forward until, we've got to figure out who we're gonna use, approve a cost, et cetera, get that all set up. But we also want to keep it moving forward, but we also want to make sure we have enough time to get the work done and not have piles of stuff hanging around while summer school starts, et cetera. Because we do have to put another gate in to make access to that back area. So that's something we have to make sure we somehow cover, whether it gets done by the contractor or we do it just with the fencing company.
That could be done on April vacation, even that part, that section.
True. So John brought up, could we find somebody, if the gate's not going to be dealt with by contractor who's doing the work, if we have to just call the company that put the fencing in and get a gate put in, that maybe could be done during April break.
Yeah, so my major concern is as long as the major construction can get done, you know what I mean? The little incidentals like the gate, that's really not going to impact anything. I'm not really worried about a safety issue over there, especially where the gate is going to be put in. So something like a gate, yeah, that can happen, a couple of weeks after. Like, that's not the end of the world.
So you're thinking they're just going to peel the fencing back and drive right there and put a gate in later? Okay.
Yeah, even if that's what we have the contractor do, or that's the work that gets done at that time, for nothing else, at least that'll get the major construction completed. Yeah.
Okay. So does anybody have any comments, questions, et cetera, more input on this?
No, I think that sounds very good. One question, Jim, is it worthwhile checking with T&D for a contractor also? I don't know what their schedule is.
Yeah, no, just start listing names for me. I'll
Well,
on the
I
list.
mean, the only reason I did is they're Bethel people, so I figured if possibly to at least give them a call.
Yeah, and my logic right now is, there's no guarantee that the three
Yeah.
that we reached out to are even going to respond. We may only get one, or we may only get two. So I'd rather try to get at least 5 out there. So hopefully we get 3 back. Like that's my hope, is that we get 3 back, because when you get less than 3,
Yeah,
know,
no.
it's
Chase, yeah. It might be worthwhile checking with TD. He might be it might be right up his alley too.
So now, James, are they gonna be responsible for getting a hold of that pipe, or do you have that already kind of ready to get sent from somewhere?
So I found it. I know where they can get it. That's kind of up to us if we want to order it ourselves, or have them deal with it. And I could just guide them to where it is.
That's probably the best, is having them deal with ordering, delivering, et cetera,
Yeah.
especially if you know where it is and if it's gonna still be there, because that's the whole thing is, I know it doesn't get used as much.
Yeah, it's going to be there. I'm not worried about that pipe going anywhere. The industry tries not to use that pipe. Let's put it that way.
So you would think it would be easy to find, but they also don't make that amount or that size too much, so, yeah.
Oh no, they don't make it anymore. Period.
All right, so anything else on this that we need to, any questions for James, any questions for Mark Dufresne or Joe Collada? Joe, all you missed at the very beginning was we were talking about paperwork getting submitted to the state and all like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and that, we found, I have nothing, STV, Geraldine found that we overpaid Rizzo by $175,000. So we're working on getting that back.
Just so I know, Joe or Mark, do you have comments for me or anything that you want me to look into or think that I missed?
Jim, I'm like to talk to you offline on that, because we're happy to help you however you need. And I know you sent me an email last week, and I apologize for not getting back to you sooner.
No, that was more of like an FYI.
Yeah.
And then if you had any comments, you were able to throw it back at me.
More than anything, I'd like to offer our assistance to help you, scope everybody, all the prices that you get, so that we make sure we got apples to apples, and any of the miscellaneous tasks that we need done, part of that contractor scope. So,
Yeah, and that was my intention too, is once they came in, I was going to be reaching out to you and sending everything out.
Sure.
For at least another set of eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. We're happy to do it.
Because we definitely want to make sure that whoever you talk to gets the same information. So
Right.
Who's going to be putting up the orange fencing? Who's going to, all that? Is that going to be done by this contractor? And if one of them thinks they're putting up the orange fencing and another one thinks they aren't or whatever, then we're not going to get equitable prices. So if we can make Mark and James work together on coming up with at least kind of a scope of work list to give them.
We'll do a good scope review, Nancy. Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you.
So if we don't have anything else specific on the projects, I do have invoices. So if we're ready to do invoices, we'll move ahead with that. So we have 2 invoices from Perkins Eastman, which we'll do first, and those were all sent out, and we kind of went back and forth with questions and then got everything all figured out. Just a bookkeeping magic, as I call it, sometimes when things get out of sequence, et cetera. So the 2 invoices for Perkins Eastman are listed as Johnson, part of the remediation that we're working on here with the level spreader. One's for October, the other one's for January. So we did some in between because of the sequence of invoices coming in and things like that. So I'll make a motion that we approve Perkins Eastman invoice number 0068962.07.0-21 for Johnson School for the month of October 2022 in the amount of $6,484.
Second.
I got a second from, I think it was Dave Olson. And just basically, again, mostly SLR doing all the work, getting the plans ready for the level spreader. So any other questions on this invoice? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. And then the second one, I'll make a motion that we approve Perkins invoice number 0068962.09.0-2 for Johnson for the month of January 2023 in the amount of $5,020.61.
Second.
Got a second from Dave Olson. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done with that one. And then we have STV. All right, so I'll make a motion that we approve STV invoice number 900268667 from STV for Johnson School for the month of January 2023 in the amount of $591.50.
Second.
Got a second from Dave Olson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. And then for STV, invoice number I make a motion that we approve invoice number 900268868 for the month of January 2023 for Rockwell School in the amount of $409.50.
Second.
Dave Olson's got a second. Anybody else? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Done. Now, something that I didn't bring up earlier, but I think we should do some kind of an official, have it in the minutes about requesting repayment from Rizzo for their overpayment. And so I'm gonna kind of work on a motion here. I'm gonna make a motion that we, the town of Bethel, contact Rizzo Corporation requesting repayment of funds overdue or overpayment funds in the amount of $175,000.
I'll second that.
John seconds it. Do we need to put anything more specific in there, do you think, or is that good?
No, I think that sounds good.
All right. Okay, so then we'll vote on that. At least it's in our minutes and we can send that along if, when Brad gets a reply back, if we need to send a letter, we can attach the minutes. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Good, thank you. I'm glad I remembered to do that.
Nancy, have we had any discussion with Rizzo on the subject?
So as Dr. Carver said, Brad Herring from Finance reached out, I don't know whether it was a phone call or an email to Rizzo and hasn't had he has not had a response yet. And that was just the past couple days. And we may follow that if we don't hear anything back with a letter and more phone calls. I'm sure that their accounting, of course, their accounting wasn't always that great. So I would think at the end of the year, if you're balancing your books, et cetera, you would notice that something like that happened. So
Maybe that's how we got that new car.
all right. So I think we're done with, unless anybody has any questions or if there's anything else on our school projects. Everybody good?
Well, that's good news.
So, and again, moving the paperwork forward for the Office of School Construction and getting that audit triggered is going to be good for the town, because in the meantime, that money that's been bonded, quote, borrowed is being sitting there and getting a payback on it's going to be good. It reduces that debt for the town. So, anybody doesn't have any other questions or comments? Bob Germanero, Joe Colada, thank you very much. We'll see, and I guess James too. We'll see you on the next one if we need to have people. I think going forward, if we don't need specific people on meetings, we can let them know ahead of time. So they don't, or maybe approximate time when they can come in, so they don't need to be here if they're not needed. Okay?
Good night, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. So, moving on to the police station training range. A lot of work's been happening on this, not a lot of work, so it's a great thing. So Vinny, where do you want to start with? What do you think is most appropriate to start with?
Well, I think what everybody probably has on their mind is we did approve the makeup air unit submittal, and that approval went to Action Target on Monday, and I'm just waiting on a delivery date.
That's good stuff.
Once we got a delivery date, I'll back that into a schedule and start working with Downs to get the balance of the project off the bid. Speaking about out to bid with the project, the next good news we have is that JHA has completed their documentation. We just received those last night. I have yet to review them. They do have the updated makeup air unit system in it. Once I can verify that they have their complete scope of work, I will then share that with the committee and then we can start our review. I'm not sure, Nancy, how you want to proceed with getting that approved. So we can discuss how you want to do that.
Right, so we will need to do an approval once it's reviewed, and in the past, we've gotten a set of plans printed and done a page turn. So if people are interested in doing that, we'll have to arrange whether we do it on a screen, meet somewhere here or in room A or down at Board of Ed, where there's a monitor where we can project it and then take a look at, rather than printing a set of plans, we can do that. But we'll have to do that. And it doesn't have to be the entire commission. It could be once you review, if there's things you need to point out and get, before we start doing our own review, if you see things that Jukunsky Humes needs to fix, change, update, etc., make more clear, any of that, I would have that done first before we then start our review.
Correct, and that's what I intend on doing the next few days to get to dig into those drawings and verify the scope of work. Okay, so that's
go ahead.
excuse me? I
Well,
was gonna say those are the two great news items that we have.
yeah, and once we go through the Jukunsky Humes plans and approve them, then they get turned to Downs for Downs to start to put together bid packages, etc. Because we did already, agreed through us and the Board of Selectmen months ago to have Downs be the construction manager. There was an amount approved for pre-construction, and then they'll put together most likely a GMP for our approval.
Yes. All right, so moving on with that, we did receive our control vendor proposal, which I sent out and shared with the group. And I've talked to ESC prior to this. They just had to tweak it a little bit. They had the full set of documentations from JHA. They had the updated makeup air unit. So I believe they have the complete scope of work within their proposal. And we just need to decide how we're going to award this to them.
So the proposal that we sent around to everyone from ESC, so as you said, they've already looked at the complete set of plans from Jukunsky Humes?
Yes.
Okay.
And the makeup air unit, and they were on our meeting last week, I think it was, when we spoke about doing the temperature and humidity monitoring within the range area. and the fact that how we're going to tie the critical alarms back into the Honeywell system for monitoring and alerting. So they have that all covered.
Okay.
Okay,
It's, Nancy, I think I had the same questions. It's just hard to say, and I'm just assuming based upon your conversations being as far as with them directly. Right? And, you know, it's just hard to follow it on the proposal, just to make sure we have everything there.
It is. I mean, they basically outlined everything from the makeup air unit, going down to monitoring the temperature, humidity, going down to the fan and the VFD, the controls for the two split systems. And the
Yeah.
storage room is going to be a local, it's just going to be a local thermostat. And I believe they're just monitoring temperature in there for that storage room area.
so are you looking tonight, Vinnie, to have us approve this proposal?
I think we can approve it if that's what we want to do. I'm not sure if anybody from the committee wants to, John or David wants to reach out to make sure that they're clear on the scope of work.
Yeah, you're muted, David.
Vin, is there a reason why we need it approved tonight, or can we wait
No,
a
there's not.
couple of weeks and give the committee a couple of weeks to review that scope in case they have any questions?
Correct. This work isn't going to take place until we get ready to actually get into construction.
Okay.
So we can't wait.
Yeah, I'd like to up with John one more time.
Yep, that's what
Okay.
I was hoping. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, we just want to make sure we have everything covered and
Yep.
the town is clear on the scope of work that basically Action Target's going to be providing, that our pro contractor is going to be monitoring.
Yeah, no, you guys really made some great strides last couple of weeks, so thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. The next item that, go ahead, Nancy.
Yep, so Vinnie, with ESC, and everybody knows that they're the ones that have been worked on the original project, are continuing to work with the police department.
Right.
All the parts that they cover. So it just made sense, and it's something that's not part of, like, it would not become part of what Downs puts out to bid. It's kind of over on this side of the whole budget thing, you know, the construction costs over here and the design and et cetera over on the other side. So this would not be part of the package that Downs would put out to bid. It's kind of a question, but also a statement.
And my concern is that Action Target, you know, when I went through the warranty, the 5-year warranty, parts and labor, I just got I felt somewhat uncomfortable with the fact that Action is, you know, they're going to rely upon a local rep to get a lot of this stuff done. And I just didn't get a good feel that Action was too, you know, enthused to do the Aon unit or whatever the problem might be. So I just want to make sure that all these things can get hooked up correctly, ESC and what have you. That's where my concern is that I don't think we're going to get, from what I'm seeing there, all too much help from the Action side to make sure that we have things in the right spot. But that's just an impression I have reading through these quotes one by one.
So during some of the conversations with Action Target, John Perna actually got the local Aon rep and a Utah Aon rep.
Yeah.
And I think what we're looking at here is, if we're going to approve this, really only approving the parts warranty and not the labor. And so this was something that actually the Aon reps came up with, and having it be local is going to make it so that we're not paying.
Yeah, and that's what I'd love to say, you know, I don't really want it to go through Action back to a local. It just seems like a very difficult way to get anything solved.
But
Yeah.
there's a local Aon rep.
But but the way this proposal seems to me, it's through action. And then yet they pass it over to a local. And if that's the case, then I'd like to see a sign off from our local rep saying that, yes, they're going to be honoring the 5-year. It just seems that we're put in a very awkward position, when I read this. And that's the only reason that I want to make sure on the ESC thing also, everything is starting to tie in here. And I just don't want to have a lot of finger pointing,
Right.
on there saying, well, Action is just going to say, well, ESC, you should back and forth. So that's my concern. I mean, I'd be much more comfortable if the local or, Aon person knows about it, is informed, and is attuned to what's going to happen here.
I believe this proposal did come from the local Aon rep because the Utah office does not offer 5-year labor and parts. And with John Perner's effort, working with the local rep, I know Action Target reached out to the local rep and received this proposal from them. So what we can do with the 5-year parts that we're looking to possibly go with, we can have them put a stipulation in this proposal that this service is out of the local Connecticut rep.
But I agree with that, but I'd also like to get a representation from the local rep that he's totally informed about how this is going to happen. Because this gives me no comfort to think that we're going to be talking to Provo, Utah, and arguing with them so that they can pass it over to the local rep. The way it's set up this way, that's the way I believe this is set up, and I don't think that's what I'd like to see.
I understand your concern. I'll reach back out to Action Target, and what we'll do is we'll get this documented that the local rep will be monitoring this warranty, and that they will be, and I'll have their contact information. If you want, we can have them put their contact information on this proposal. So if there is any concerns or any issues with the warranty, we can contact them directly.
Yeah, that's why. I'd like the local rep to be involved, right now, so that they know what's going on, especially with the designs and what have you. I just want to make sure everyone's informed with where we're going here. And I'd also like to see that, they start with the startups as far as, the warranty starting with the startups. I have a real concern when the warranty starts with the shipping dates.
Yeah, it should start up at turnover is when it should start up.
Correct.
When they turn it over is when this should start.
Correct.
Well, at that point, you'll have the 1-year manufacturer and contractor warranty. So Action Target will cover the first year of the warranty of the unit.
Correct.
It's up the balance.
That's kind of the standard way, and I think the way this is written is non-standard, and I'd like to see a standard.
I can reach back out. Again, this is not holding up anything on the makeup air unit.
Yeah,
This is
no
strictly
problem.
getting the warranty under how you want to see it. So I can work on that. Just to let you know, Roy, we did have the Aon rep on a meeting last week, and they are fully aware of this. And but we'll make sure that we clarify all that information.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm and that's the whole thing is kind of, and I'm not part of all these conversations that you have. So it's I know there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, getting this worked out. It's just, kind of what I'm seeing, the little sections that I see. Those are my questions.
Okay.
Is
So
the Aon rep we're talking about an Aon employee, or are they a rep company?
Probably a rep company.
I would.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't
Question.
Service.
I'm not sure how that office is set up, whether they are a rep of Aon or if they are actually an Aon company, like an office of Aon.
Okay, it kind of matters. If it's a single guy acting as a representative for a number of companies, he doesn't have many resources. And if he's an employee of a representative company, he's got more. And if he's an Aon employee, he's got even more. So they all have to stand behind the warranty.
Yeah, that I agree, Dave, but most of these Aon guys, most of these bigger people, I think even if they had an outside rep, they'd be pretty substantial.
Yeah.
As a general rule, is from what
Yeah.
I've seen there, so.
So one question I have on this 5-year parts and labor warranty. Are we going to just go with the parts warranty on this, or are we going to entertain the labor?
I think parts is the way to go, and
Yeah, the labor seemed really ridiculously high to me. So again, that's something I want to talk with John further on. I think we both will agree on that, but I'd like to get his input.
I did get an email from John with his input, but I wanted to get the direction from the committee.
yeah, I think parts and, labor kind of pay as you go sort of thing.
I think that's what John brought up. is
Yeah.
Yeah,
Could just go with the parts.
right. So yeah, if you're gonna get something else written up, obviously, like people who are on that meeting between all the different parties involved, heard from the Aon rep, but would be good to have it, the local Aon rep. But it'd be good to have that as part of the proposal.
Right.
We're good with just parts and not.
Yeah.
Also at startup, not day unit strips, if they can.
So it should. I'll make sure that it starts at the warranty starts at turnover. That's
I believe with the original police station, that's when it kicked over, when it was
Yes.
turned over.
Yep.
Yeah, after commissioning and after everything's turned over, after everything's working.
So then, Vinny, you have the change order from Action Target to have that makeup air unit do what we wanted to do. Do we have to approve that?
I think that the number seems fair. They don't really give a breakdown of it, but 4,500 for them to add all the items that they have to add into this, the controls and so forth to get it to tie back in, and then the MERV 13 filters. I mean, that's an upgrade. I believe this was from MERV, I believe 9, and so do we want to accept both items here, or are we just looking at one item?
Any input from our HVAC folks?
Well, so how much of the air is actually getting recirculated? Very, very little, right?
I believe it is very little.
I mean, obviously our officers' health is paramount. Trying to remember what that difference was on that. What was the cost difference on? I'm sorry, I can't remember.
I don't know that we have a cost difference. The upgrade cost for the filters is $1,056. The original filters are included in their main cost for their unit.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we don't have a breakdown on that.
I just like I said, it's been a while. I'm trying to remember what they normally standardly spec, but I know MERV 13 will take out a lot more particulates.
Yes, but weren't they MERV 9? Wasn't that what was?
The MERV 9 were the original ones, yeah, but the 13s are better filters. So, for the amount of time, you got to think of it like two ways, right? The cost of MERV 13s obviously is more, but for the amount of time the range is being used, is it worth the extra $2,000-3,000 a year in maintenance fees to use a better filter for the health of the folks that are using the range?
And then we also have to consider when the range is unoccupied and the makeup air unit is running too.
Right.
I'm sure it's going to be pulling through the filter system at that point too.
Right. Right. So I just don't know what the amount of air exchanges before you have to change the filters are. I don't remember that off the top of my head.
I guess one question that I can ask Action Target, are the MERV 13 and the MERV 9 filters interchangeable? So if we decide to go with the MERV 13, if the town decides to go back with the MERV 9 in the future, or vice versa, if we want to stay with the MERV 9 and then go to the MERV 13, Are they interchangeable? Are they the same size?
They should be, yes, because I did that when COVID hit. I was taking MERV 8. They were 4-inch deep by 24 by 24. I'll just give you what my size was. And I was able to get a MERV 13. It was a 4 by 24 by 24. So they are interchangeable. It's just a price differential for the, better filter.
Does that mean that the unit is working harder though?
Very little, not by a lot. Not by a lot, no. It should, I'll leave that up to Action Target to tell us, but no, when I did that with all the units that I had at my buildings, I do all that same, to see the static pressure, see what it's gonna do. And it really didn't affect anything at all. It wasn't enough to make it, oh my gosh, kind of. But yeah, that's a good question.
And you went from an 8 to a 13.
That's correct. I actually went from an 8 to a 13 and put a 4 panel in front of that, in front of the 13 to catch the big particulates, so that the 13 would last longer because of the price.
Right. And you didn't see any drop static pressure or any issues?
It was minuscule.
Minimal?
It was minuscule.
So I wasn't,
Well, again-
whether they wanted to see the 13s because now they're running the thing while it's unoccupied. I just wasn't too sure whether that was kind of why they upgraded it. But I don't know enough about it, Dave. So,
That was John Perna's recommendation, so
okay, good. Okay.
if you have questions about it, ask the questions so Vinny can check, because as he said, it's not holding up the
Yeah.
of the unit. We just need to let him know in a timely manner, so
Right.
they can add that in and make those adjustments. So
Yeah.
if you need Vinny to find out what we were just talking about, let him know.
Yeah, they should be, just check to make sure they're interchangeable, but I don't see why they shouldn't.
I will.
Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
I'll double check that. And again, you can stay with the original MERV 9 and switch out later or go back.
Right.
As long as they are interchangeable, I would believe.
Correct. That is correct.
It might actually be cost effective, just originally to ask them more than anything, as you said, Ben, if they're interchangeable. And if they're interchangeable, then by all means, go with the original spec with the MERV 8 or MERV 9, whatever it was, and then interchange them later on once, because it probably will be more cost effective for the town to buy those filters themselves directly rather than pay the marked up amount from Action Target.
Right, and that's a very good point, because also with all the testing that'll be done and everything else, you don't want to waste a MERV 13 with the amount of testing that's going to be done, to make sure everything's balanced out properly. So that's
Exactly. When the space is most dusty, you don't want to ruin those MERV 13s, right? You want to use the lower grade filters at that time, because no one's going to be in there but the contractor. So you don't want all that dust and dirt ruining your nice expensive filters.
Right.
Stuff.
So the question is, does this cost include just the filters, or does there have to be an actual upgrade to the system so that they work with the MERV 13 filters?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we need to find out.
Yeah, I'll ask that question too, but I'm not foreseeing that. I'm foreseeing, like David said, the filters are interchangeable. You can pull them out and put whatever you want in. So the one item on here that I think definitely is a change over that we do want, because we've been asking for it for several months, is the $4,500, the ability to run on unoccupied.
Right. So do we want to get an update on this, or are we going to vote on part of it?
I can get an update.
I think we need to approve, because that's what they're manufacturing. We need to let them know.
Yeah.
Yes. So, but what we need to find out, Vinny, we can make a motion and approve it. Is there some sort of thing that they need to have officially signed? Because if it's considered a change order, like, is there some form that they want somebody to sign? Because I'll have to deal with that.
I did confirm with Rex when we were talking about this, and he said that this change order does not affect ordering the equipment and ordering the makeup air unit.
Okay.
So, we may have, we do have a little bit of time, but I don't think we want to have a lot of time. If it would be better for the committee, what I can do is I can get 2 separate quotes from Rex I get a $4,500 one for the run the unit. They're in unoccupied mode, and I can get one for the MERV 13 filters, so we can move one along and not hold up the other.
Sure. And that's like I said, if it's something that, if it's a change order that's gonna result in a change to the agreement that the town has with Action Target, it may need to be signed by somebody, not me. So, we'll have to find out from them if they need a signed thing, or if our minutes are enough, then, we'll have to take care of that.
Right. So I'm sure I can have that out to the committee within the next day or two. I'm sure Rex will turn that around quickly for me.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right, so then, Vinnie, do you have other things other than the budget?
What else do I have on here? Let me take a look what I have on my list here. The budget and the SCV invoice are the last two items that I have.
Okay, so I'm just gonna check first though with Mark Allen from Jakunski Humes is on. I don't know if he has any input or updates for us, or if he's just kind of listening so that he knows where we're going.
Yeah, I've just been monitoring the meeting just to kind of see where we're going. And at this point, we're just waiting for approval of our drawings.
Okay, we should be able to get that done at least by the next meeting, if not sooner. So, yeah, you heard that we're gonna go through the process. Vinnie's doing his review, and then the commissioner will also do a review. And we should be able to get those approved pretty quickly.
Yes.
Great. And then I don't know if Lieutenant Durkin has any input for us. We'll do our invoice. We'll do the budget first, then the invoice. So you want to throw the budget up there on the screen there, Vin? You have to make Vinnie the co-host.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go. Good.
Okay, and the budget.
Where are we going camping, Vinnie?
There we go. Oh, are we going camping? Oh, yeah, yep. Soon. All right, let me blow this up so everybody here can see it. So the items that I have in the budget, just to start at the top, these are the consultant and subcontractors, numbers that are up top. I've taken the architectural engineering fee from the actual contract value that we have. I've taken the owner's project management fee from the contract value. The $7,500 for the commissioning agent, that'll be a third-party commissioning agent. That is an estimate. We do not have them on board yet, but I think 7,500 is probably a good number. We'll probably be commissioning out the makeup air unit and then those two small split systems for the control room in the ready room. So that's kind of what my assessment is on that. Second part is just fees. This is taken from the Downs contract for permits and special inspection testing. They had $1,275 in there.
Yeah.
The construction subcontractor total, the 182, 185, that is from a recent estimate that we received from Downs. I believe it was either September or October of last year. So what I've done is I've held those numbers and going down with the construction fees and so forth. I'm actually carrying, I should have changed it to 20%. I'm carrying a 20% escalation fee. I looked at 10%, 17,000, not a lot of money. So I figured we'll cover $36,000 for escalation. We have a construction contingency in here, the general contractor insurance, the CM overhead fees, and then as an estimated contingency. That right there probably can go away because of Downs. That's in Downs contract. So the 35, the 8, and the 9 is actually taken from Downs contract that we currently have right now. Okay. Moving down, I have the ESC.
Hey, Vinny, before you get down on that, the question I had though on the electrical and HVAC, those are done as non-union. Are these going to be prevailing wages, or where are we on this?
Well, Downs is a budget that he provided back in September, October, carried a 67.5 and a 72.5. What I looked at in the budget that was developed by Geraldine when she was here, she actually reduced these numbers down to what she was considering a non-unit subcontract. Again, I should have pulled this out of the comments on the side. So I'm anticipating that these would be union contractors. And if we can go with non-union, that we could see a potential savings here.
But it would still have to be prevailing wage, I would think.
That's what I was thinking.
I'm not if prevailing wages is required on this. I don't have the bidding requirements.
I think any project, what is it, over the 100,000 or whatever it was? Is that-
You know, Downs should know this from the police station project, because that was all, you know, that was a
Right.
job. So the numbers that they gave us, you would have to, I hate to use the word assume from Downs, but they should know that's prevailing wage.
If any, can you check with Downs and just see where they are on that, just to
Absolutely. Yep.
make sure we're not surprised, probably with the whole amount.
Yeah, I think their original proposal was based on prevailing wages, and then there was some discussion that talked about non-union subcontractors, and I believe that's why Geraldine reduced it. But I went back with Downs' original estimate because I don't want to cut it short. Okay, but I will ask that question.
Yeah, if you could just re-verify with Downs and just make sure we're okay there.
Is there any way that this commission could have a say in who the electrical contractor is? Because we've had one electrical contractors and two projects that have been
Yeah.
very unkind to us. I'll put that very mildly.
Nicely worded.
I think they know, but I think we'll mention it to them and
Yes.
go from there.
Well, you know, we can work with Downs on their subcontractor selection process. And if there is a contractor that the town has a problem with, we can make sure that either their scope is correct or they're either qualified or not qualified based on what they're planning to bring to the table. So we can work with Downs, Vin and I, to make sure that any sub that you're concerned about is certainly vetted appropriately, and we go forward from there.
Good.
Thanks, okay.
Okay, so continuing down, we have the owner vendors I'm looking at. So we have ESC. This is their proposal that they gave us a 32,480. I don't believe there's anything in the documents for security. Mark, can you confirm that? Any type of security on this?
Yeah, I don't think there is any items for security.
Okay, so I'm carrying a $10,000 estimate, most likely to lock up a few doors, or depending on work with, we can work on determine what actually has to be locked down in the space and how it's going to be locked down. But I'm carrying an estimate for that. I also have a fire alarm estimate. I picked that up from Geraldine's previous proposal. Mark, I would assume our electrical engineer is covering the fire alarm that's required for this project, correct?
Typically, yeah, Downs will bid that fire alarm to an electrician. There's not enough low voltage work in the job to give to a low voltage contractor.
Correct, yeah. So I'm carrying 7,500 because I do know that there is some low voltage that has to happen between the Actionair units that are in the room and their control system and so forth. So I'm carrying a little bit of dollars for there. Moving on down, we have our contract value for the firing range, which was 455,518. We have our dedicated HVAC, which was 364, which those two numbers totaled up to, I verified they total up to Action Target's current contract value. And I have change order number 1 in there for 5556. That was the having the unit run in the unoccupied mode in the MERV 13. And I sent this out with the full change order number 2 number for the 5-year parts and warranty. That will go down if we're only selecting the 5 years of parts. So that drops down. Project contingency, I got 65,000 in, have a full total of 1,383,000. The referendum was set at 1.4, so that leaves a remaining balance of 16,905. So when you add up to 16,905, the project contingencies and the escalation numbers, I think it's roughly about $140,000. You know, if you back those numbers out. But right now I'm looking at having, if everything is spent as shown here, will be roughly about 16,000, 17,000 under budget.
Good. We like to hear under budget.
Well, that's always the plan.
Yes. So that's the third good news we have today.
So Vinny's got a couple things he's got to look into for us, so we can deal with those. And we also need to start getting moving on the plans from Jakunski Humes to do a review and get those approved, so they can then go to Downs, so Downs can start putting bid packages together. And the one thing, I think, Vinny, that you asked me during the week that we didn't talk about tonight specifically is a commissioning agent, which we did talk about needing to have one. I believe John Perna brought it up at the last meeting. That's something that, again, is done by us and not part of the GMP or construction. So I know who we used on the original building, yet I'm not sure if it's not the large amount that we might have to put out an RFP. I think we can request a couple of quotes from different people.
Yeah.
I don't remember who John
Yeah, I don't remember who he said.
I might have to check and see. You know, we use CES on the main building, and they did a great job with their, you know, whole 1 year, 4 seasons check, giving us all kinds of great information and things that needed to be tweaked and things like that. So there's several of the different companies out there that we can request a proposal from.
And we can do that as well. We can coordinate that. We don't have, unfortunately, STV doesn't have a commissioning agent in-house. I wish we did. It's one of the few services we don't offer. But we did when we did Brockville and Johnson, we had IES on board as the commissioning agent. And I was very, very pleased with the job they did, and would like to, you know, if you would like us to, I certainly would like to kind of coordinate that and get 2 or 3 bids on different commissioning agents for you.
CES was the original one, the police station, according to the email that I have from Nancy. So we can go to IEC, CES, and we can reach out to one more.
Does ESC have a commissioning arm or a department? Does anybody know?
Who was that?
ESC.
Yeah, I reached out to ESC. They do commissioning of their own items. They do not do third-party commissioning.
Okay.
Yeah, so I did reach out to them and ask that question.
You know, you guys, STV can check in with IES and CES and one other, and we can get some quotes together. And obviously you're gonna need to, whoever you contact is gonna need to have the same information when you ask for a proposal, so they all are giving.
We're going to need to have all the drawings done and ready to go for them to understand what they need to do. Right. So it may be another month from now before we are talking to you about the bid leveling of the commissioning agents. But just so you understand, by the time we get all the drawings together and everything ready for them, it'll be a couple of weeks for them. And by the time where Vin and I are ready to talk to you again, it'll probably be a month from now, maybe a little more.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's understandable. Good.
So on the commissioning side, I mean, I know we're talking about, you know, getting the makeup, you know, getting the makeup air unit commission, make sure that that's functioning as a town is looking for. The split systems is fairly simple. Is there any commissioning that is going to be required within the room? Are we going to require, is the room like airtight? So we need to somehow verify that. Is there any other commissioning efforts that we may need to do? And Mark, you may be able to answer that question.
It's not going to be required by code. That's going to be an owner's decision.
Okay.
Because I know there's a door or a door, like a kind of part wall door that's being added,
Yeah,
kind of separates the actual range area from that back room.
yeah, for the where the data room is.
Right, so
Right.
that needs to be done in a way that doesn't create air leaks or et cetera when MAU is running.
Yep.
That's a
Mark,
question.
can you explain? Yeah, Mark, can you explain the function of that door and how that? Because again, I haven't looked at the drawings, but what you're intending to be and how that door is intending to function. Is it it's going to seal? What exactly is the intent?
Fire door.
It's not so much the air seal, because we actually do have another seal behind that you know, there's the other 3 walls of the vestibule. But that door is, you know, primarily there for sound. Obviously, there's a lot of sound generated in the range, and anything we can do to kind of cut that down between that and the control room and the rest of the building. But you know, it's just an additional sound barrier for the most part. But it will be fairly airtight. You know, certainly the construction that we expect to see is going to be airtight.
Okay. Does that control room wall, window, and the door, does that have a sound requirement on it? Because I've done projects where I've actually had to test the sound before, especially mechanical rooms, but sensitive equipment on the other side and so forth.
No, there's really no way that you're going to test for the sound that we're trying to reduce. Gunfire is a very difficult sound to lessen, and just the use of fully grouted CMU walls, which we do have in that wall, that's going to be the biggest help to that. And you know, so if the sound's got to get through that wall and then through a bunch of other walls to get into the building, that's probably about the best we can do with Gunfire.
Okay. Is the committee fine with not doing any type of sound testing or air testing within the room?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, because I'm not sure once we, but
Unless-
testing, what can we do if it's not, like, what are we testing? What levels are we testing to?
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
if it's not a code requirement, if it's something, you know, it's not a standard.
Right.
Okay. Great.
So, anything else on the budget? We'll kind of get an update periodically from Vinny on this as some of the numbers become more firm. I mean, some of the numbers, as Vinny mentioned, are already firm because we have agreements with
Yep.
architect, STV, towns for pre-construction, action target, et cetera, and then we'll start getting more
Yeah.
concrete numbers, obviously, as we go through. So we'll get an update periodically, probably once a
Right.
month, be fine.
Absolutely. You can definitely do that. Yep. Okay.
All right, so if there's anything else that anybody has questions, comments on for Vinny, or any questions for Mark Allen, we have an invoice to deal with, and we can do that. And I think we can keep moving forward, which is a good thing. Okay, so we'll do the STV invoice. I mean, you can throw it up there if you want, Vin.
Am I still sharing? Okay,
Yeah,
there it is.
There you go. So I'll make a motion that we approve invoice number 900268871 from STV for the month of January 2023 in the amount of $5,013.
Second.
Second.
Got a second from John Menti. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are done with that one. So anything else on the training range that anybody needs to bring up or know about or ask questions about, et cetera? Vinny's got a few things that he's got to check into and bring back to the next meeting. Otherwise, we are continuing to move forward, which is great. And then we'll have to figure out too how we want to do the plan review, if they're sent out or put on the shared drive so people can access them electronically. If people want to be in a room to look at them, you gotta let me know. So if it's more than if we're gonna end up with a quorum, then we have to post a meeting if we want to look at them separately and then get back to each other. But Vinny, you do your review. You and STV do your review first.
Right.
Okay. So I think that's it on the training range for now. And so thank you, Mark Allen. Thank you, Lieutenant Durkin and Mark Dupre and Vinny. Everybody else has got to stick around because got one more update to give.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you all. If you have any
Thank you.
questions, just feel free to reach me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do that.
You know.
So on the Bethel High School HVAC project, the grant has not been awarded, the grants have not all been awarded yet. So the update that I got from Jen Variali was that they're still waiting to hear on the grant. And so as per the referendum question, that part of the project is on hold until we hear about the grant. And Dr. Carver had said that there hasn't been any kind of like, is this good news or bad news that we haven't heard anything? It's just kind of a wait and see. The other part of the project, the bids were received to replace ERU2, and that was awarded to Kafta Group by the Board of Selectmen. And they're starting to look at some of the other parts of that project. As I said last time, or maybe the time before, that entire upgrade to the Bethel High School HVAC system was spelled out in phases by Kohler Ronan. And the very first phase, which is that replacing that unit on the top of the high school, which will hopefully happen in the summer, that's the plan. That's phase one. So all the different phases are, at this point, the next couple of phases are dependent on hearing about the grant. So we're going to have to wait and hear about that. But Kohler Ronan has been, and John Perna will always bring this up, and I'm glad he does, the Eversource Energy Incentives. Kohler Ronan's working on the paperwork for that, so we can hopefully take advantage of that and get some funds returned to the town. So that's where we are with that. We've only been assigned as a committee, a building commission, to oversee the part that grant is part of. We're not supposed to oversee that first phase unless that gets assigned to us by the Board of Selectmen, and we'll have to wait and see on that. So that's where we are with that part.
Good.
So does anybody have any questions or?
Nope.
So
I'm good.
John's going to be running the next meeting, as I will not be available, so be kind to him, and we'll make sure, we're going to need to hear back from everyone to make sure we have a quorum. because we're gonna be down me, and we're down the other person too, so just have to make sure everyone else can attend and be here so we can keep things moving along.
Okey dokey.
Okay,
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second,
everybody,
Heard
say-
it.
all in favor?
aye,
Opposed? Done.
everyone.